All right, everyone. Welcome to the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. Today with me, I have Henry Organ, a recently certified NFL agent, current grad student at University of San Francisco in their sports management program, entrepreneur, and real estate investor. So, Henry, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Sam.
Absolutely, absolutely. So first, just tell us more about yourself, what your childhood was like, and what you saw or what you didn't see that shaped your view of building wealth.
Oh man, that's a great question. So as a kid, I grew up, my dad was a doctor. My dad's a pediatric surgeon. So I grew up with a family full of, on his side of the family, first generation Black doctors. My grandpa, Claude Organ, was the second Black doctor on the American College of Surgeons Board. And then I had my mom's family, on the other hand, who my grandpa on her side was one of the first Black employees at IBM. So I saw rich people, but not wealthy people. I met wealthy people. We weren't wealthy. We were in essence rich, we were middle class. So my Black friends thought I was super rich. They called me bougie and make fun of me because I was, which was totally fine. But it was very humble beginnings. My mom, I didn't meet my grandpa, my mom's side, until I was 15 years old. And so I like to kind of look at the rich dad, poor dad philosophy. So my rich dad or my rich grandpa was a doctor. And then I had my poor grandpa who worked at IBM and actually left IBM and got into real estate and started buying property in East Oakland. And, my rich, family always taught me, go get a good education, go to the best of the best schools. All of his kids, my dad and his four other brothers and two sisters all went to the elite schools, Stanford, Harvard. That was it, and the elite medical schools. And so what I had learned from that was that, wow, this is amazing. But how are we creating, generational wealth as I got older? As I got older, my grandpa's real estate holdings, he was looked at as crazy for leaving IBM as a Black man that had a good job, was asked to move to Hawaii to work in an innovation tank. And he said at that point, no, if you're going to pay me to think for you guys, I can think for myself. And so that we tried to figure out how he could make money while he was sleeping. Because he didn't know he was learning how to create wealth, but he learned that there was a lot of other races of people that, woke up and were just paid, and so he was trying to figure out how to get there, because if he could get there, then he could allow himself to have enough money to help his kids do what they wanted to do and feed their dreams. So anyway, so I met him at 15. When he was at 15, when I was 15, they had a gang of Section 8 properties in East Oakland. The recession, my uncles, who I ended up meeting, or my mentors to this day, moved out here from Texas. So they're my mom's half brothers. And they took me in and kind of started to bring me along to grandpa's real estate holdings as they worked on them. So we would go in there and rehab units when Section 8 moved out, and they started to flip houses during the recession because they saw a huge amount of margins that were being made, and they saw BlackRock hedge fund begin to purchase a lot of distressed properties in the market. And so they would go and door knock and buy these houses and help people move into either their buildings or other buildings and buy their houses and then sell them to the hedge funds at a profit in 60 days.
Wow.
And so they started to realize what they were doing, and it was quick money. They started to realize they were holding them until the market went up and trended up, and then sell them for even bigger profits. So as they got more money, they started to hold some of the better properties that they were able to get in these distressed neighborhoods, and then flip them to buy bigger buildings. Anyways, I'm kind of all over the place. It may be kind of hard to follow, but the moral of the story is that having a good education is important. It creates you and puts you into a bigger sphere of network. But if you're not buying assets, then you're just going to work your whole entire life. My rich grandpa, worked until he died.
Wow.
He had the ability to invest with Warren Buffett early on in Omaha, Nebraska. He actually gave him the access to the Boys Town Club Fund to manage that money that was sitting in banks. So if you look at Snowball, his name is mentioned in the book as the doctor that sat on the board that brought him in to evaluate the books of the Boys Town Club. And so at first, when Warren was first starting out, he told me this as a kid that he couldn't tell if he was a crook or what, because he wanted these 10 doctors to invest $100,000 and he would give them yearly updates, but there was no dividends being paid out. They were going to take all that money and reinvest it back in there, and they couldn't touch it for 10 years. And so he didn't do it because he wanted to use that money to send his kids to elite colleges. And he didn't have it like that. This is Omaha, Nebraska, where the KKK is real. Anyways, down the road, he realized that Warren was successful. He did invest with him still early on, but not to the magnitude of we could have all been billionaires. In a sense, one of those doctors that had invested, only one of the 10 actually invested, became a billionaire. And so he ended up allowing Warren to get on the board of the Boys Town Club and invest that money, and that's why they're doing a lot in Omaha, Nebraska, or getting ready to for the Boys Town Club, because that money that he was able to manage actually propelled his career. So that's just hidden gems all over kind of my story.
Yeah.
In real estate, I look at my uncles or my poor family. They took the little that they had, in the essence of their sheer network, and now they're multimillionaires. They have over about $50 million in real estate holdings.
Wow.
That generated cash flow about $1 million a year gross. So where my rich family, they do have money and they make a lot of money, but they have to work for that money.
Right.
And they work hard for that money as doctors. Where my poor family, they get to go on vacations every quarter, big vacations where they're gone for half the month. So I realized, yes, it's good to have a strong earning job and a job that's not earning, but you also have to have assets to where they can basically pump out money like a bank.
Right.
If you can balance the two, then you can help other people get there quickly. And there's a lot of other minorities, in particular Caucasians, that do this very, very well. I mean, we've all heard of the Jewish people that own everything. You hear Jay-Z talking about different people buying buildings for $25 million, and now that building's worth $100 million or whatever he says on his song. But that's real. And it's very possible for any race to do it.
Right.
You just establish it up here in your mind.
Right. Wow. You touched on a lot of gems there. So it seems like, in your childhood and kind of growing up, you had two parts of your family to learn from. Those who kind of had very good jobs, made money, but it was a lot of earned income. And then you had the other side of your family who were buying assets, buying cash flow, and able to live how they want.
They were cash poor. They were very, very cash poor for a long time. Until recently, they looked like they were poor.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they were buying buildings and they knew what it was going to become. Like the building that they bought in 2007, right before the recession, was $1 million. That building today is worth $5 million, and it costs $25,000 a month.
My goodness.
Mortgages, if they even still exist, $5,000 to $6,000. So you do the math. But how all this kind of ties into my story, what I'm trying to do is I'm an NFL certified agent. And, as the agent, you are the CEO of the player, is to get them to understand and create wealth building tactics. And although I'm not a financial advisor, it's to make sure they get in front of the right financial advisors, understand their plan, and not in it to just manage the most amount of money. But that's a whole separate conversation.
Right.
Through real estate, I know that it's an identified path that you can truly create wealth. Like I said, anybody can do it. You just got to get it in your mind and understand it. And there's a lot of great books out there, but they all keep something back, in my personal opinion, to make you go to one of them seminars, and you're not really going to learn it. They're going to try to get you to invest in their funds. Grant Cardone has some funds, Figuera has some funds, but you can physically go own it yourself, and it's not hard. It's
definitely. So with that being said, tell us about your first deal, and kind of what that process was like, where it was, you still own it, cash flow, all those things.
So I knew I would. Let me say this. In real estate, how I truly got into it or saw it was my mom's house was in foreclosure when my parents got divorced for almost 10 years, I
Mm-hmm.
would say. And she fell victim to that, not because nobody, my uncles or whoever didn't help her. Like, how can she go into foreclosure, and you have a family that's in real estate and doing all these things? She wouldn't let them help her. She didn't tell them what was going on because she was embarrassed, like most people were in the recession. But it happened to everybody, even people that were in real estate. They lost a lot of stuff. Anyways, so I didn't come to find out um, what was really going on until I had left Nike in football brand marketing and created my own sports model. And I saw that I was helping my mom try to get her finances together so she could retire. So I knew I was doing well, and I was looking to buy a house in Oregon at the time, and I realized that her stuff wasn't together, and that there was a lot of stuff she didn't know about her house that I didn't understand either, and I had to go seek help. So I consider my mom's house, even though it sold after um, I bought my first house, my first deal, and we did what's called a seller carry. So she could get the equity that she wanted out of it to go and retire early and keep her loan, the modification of a loan that she still had in place, to give it to somebody else that was cash heavy but couldn't get the financing for the purchase price of the house. So I consider that my first deal and one of my best deals, because in the deal, the seller won, my mom, and the buyer won as well. They were both able to accomplish their goal. And so that was my first deal. So I don't still hold that, but it was a great structure of the deal, and it's still in place today, and it's working great. My first property that I bought was a townhouse, which is considered for investors the ugly sister of the two. Um, in Portland, Oregon. I still hold it today, and my mom still lives in it. It doesn't make any money. It's not truly an investment, but it was a good buy for what I was trying to accomplish. Now, my first true investment I did in 2008, 18, or this year actually. I'm sure 2019 in February. I closed in the triplex. It was mismanaged, Section 8. Rents that hadn't been increased in over 10 years. And so being that my family started off in Section 8, we know that game very well and how it works. And so there's people to trade, and depending on what city you're in Oakland is where the property is. It's in West Oakland, which is rapidly gentrifying because of all the new developments that are coming in to Oakland, with West Oakland in particular being probably one of the bigger areas in the country in this new opportunity zone tax credit. And so I knew what was coming, and I saw those in the market for 45 days. Me personally, I don't look at a property until after been sitting for 2 weeks. The reason why I do that is because usually how agents do it now, if they're smart, is they price it undervalued to drive the bidding process up, so they can meet the actual number they're trying to meet, get a higher number than it. So it's called non-transparent pricing. So I do that so that I can beat the price down and get a discount. So it was listed at $650 for 45 days. I knew they had no offers, so I wrote my offer, 10% under, not 10%, but sorry, 5% under what they were asking for, to meet in the middle. And so that was accomplished, and I knew at the same time, though, even at $650 was a deal, because I knew what the cash flow was, what was going to be once you increase the Section 8 rents, which hadn't been done because the previous owner just was afraid to do it because they were afraid of the tenants. And the tenants are actually really cool. There's nothing really wrong with them. They were just afraid.
Got it. And how much did you end up buying for?
I closed on it for $639, and I got some credits from the seller as well. So that's why the price is a little bit higher than what the original offer was for at $628. Closed on it and increased the rents in 90 days, and the rest is history. So I took the rents from $1,000 a month to $1,600.
Yep.
Which is, people are like, how do you do that? It's not possible. Oakland's rent control. What's wrong? No, it's perfectly legal. In Section 8, if the rents haven't been increased in a certain amount of time, you can go to the housing authority and ask for an increase. This comparable to what prices are in the neighborhood. So it was a win for everybody.
Definitely, definitely. And what kind of finances did you do? Did you do 20% down? Did you do FHA? How did you work that out?
Yeah, so since it's my second property, I couldn't do anything under 20%. Now
Okay.
that the Great Recession happened, you
Mhm.
see banks tightening up on lending, very, very strict. So they require you to put 25% down, not even 20% for a multifamily property when it's your second. Um, and so that's what I had to put down to answer your question, just directly, 25%. So I had to come close with a little bit over 160.
Got it. Got it. Wow. 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 And so was that money that you had saved over the years preparing for your first deal? Did you get help from family? It's a pretty big piece of cash to come up with. So if you can
Well,
talk to us about how you
that's what's
accumulated that.
when I had this, I had always been saving. I took out all my student loans at the end of college, even though um, I did get a scholarship to pay for all my tuition.
Mhm.
Because it's cheap money. It was 3%, and I understood that very clearly early on. That was cheap money, and that was tax deductible, and that
Wow.
cheap money is good because you leverage to make more money. So
Right.
took that money. I had saw that Square was a thing. I had saw in the Portland community, which is a strong small business community,
Mhm.
what was going on with that. I saw what they were like, how many people were using it, and I saw that it was a cash cow. And so I purchased that stock at like $12 to $13.
But
So
what
I
app was it?
Square
Square. Oh yeah, the card app one. Okay.
Cash App is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Square. They have the credit card app. So it's a POS system. I understood what POS is where I was working at Nike retail at that time. My last year of college, and I was just like, this is a gold mine. Like this is brilliant. Like, this is amazing. This is way better than PayPal. They're giving me this. It's 2%. Like, I saw the numbers very quickly. I saw they had a POS system. And I was like, people are going to do this. I just made a crazy bet, I didn't tell anybody. So I basically bought $10,000 equivalent of Square stock. So do the math, and that went up drastically. So I bought it, let's say $13. I know it was between 12 and 13. I forget the exact number, but let's say $13 and divide that by $10,000. That's the amount of shares I had. So I sold all those shares right before I came back to the Bay Area, which is home, at a profit, a huge profit, in under 3 years. So I sold it like $79, 79 to 80 in that window.
Wow.
Um, so it went all up to 90 at that point in time. And so, it made me pretty liquid, along with the money that I got back from my mom and her household that I had put up to help her get the refinance.
Right.
And so that's how I did it. And then, of course, I always, whenever I get paid on anything I do, I always, since I've been 9 years old, say 10%. So I would say half of that was Square stock. The other half was money I had just saved since 9 years old. I've always had a bank account. I've always been a hustler.
Wow. So I think you touched on a couple huge things. I think one, you know, just having the foresight and taking the risk on on the Square stock to come up with about half of the money, and then just always saving. So it sounds like you were always preparing for the opportunity when when you would be able to make that first deal. And I think that's something a lot of people miss out on. People, read all this stuff, they listen to
Yep.
podcasts and things, but they don't take action.
Shoot or shoot.
Yeah.
It's a street terminology. Shoot or shoot. But
Right.
also, people think that I'm very aggressive. I am extremely calculated. And if you ever sit down with me and look at my real estate holdings, and basically there's an Excel spreadsheet out there that you can basically calculate not what the cap rate is. Cap rate, in my personal opinion, is fugazi. It's not real. It's not a real number. You look up the cash on cash return, which is equivalent to the return on a stock. That's how I look at real estate. I look at it, I calculate the numbers based on what the return would be if it was a stock. So it's very conservative approach. It's actually the safest thing, in my personal opinion, that you can buy, because you never lose in real estate unless you over leverage or you're not prepared. You cut corners. So, you have your insurance, or if it burns down, they'll pay for the whole entire thing to get rebuilt. They also pay for all the rental loss after you pay your deductible, which you get all back as soon as you pay it. So, it's an earthquake insurance as well. So it's the smartest thing you can do is own real estate at some point in time in your life. Now, the barrier of entry is a lot higher than investing in stocks, but the return is that much greater. The only true risk I think I ever took was Square, which was a pure gut decision, which was absolutely crazy looking back on it. But when I know a winner, I know a winner.
Yeah.
And you got to go off your instincts. But now how I look at stocks is way different. I mean, being that I'm in graduate school, and I have some friends now that I'm older that are in that field that work for these hedge funds that have taught me how to read, profit and loss sheets, balance statements, et cetera, to look at how you calculate risk companies and win. So basically your quantitative analysis first, and then your qualitative. I always do qualitative first, then
Right.
quantitative before I make the final decision. So, yeah.
Definitely.
So just make calculations, but don't sit there and wait. Do something. Even if you lose, you're still winning because you're learning from it. People always, I know people that talk about, oh yeah, I'm going to buy real estate. I'm looking into it in the next 12 months. Dude, when the recession hits, it's not a real thing, bro. You're not going to have another great recession. Like, it doesn't work like that. And most people didn't shoot their shots during the last great recession. So that's why they're still poor.
Mm-hmm.
You got to shoot. When you see an opportunity, you got to hit it. Figure out as fast as possible. Set unrealistic timetables. You should achieve your goals way faster than what you think is possible. And if you don't, then you're a failure in my mind. Only because you're not pushing the hard line. You got to push a hard line. And if you don't, you're just going to be average. I mean, people say, oh, well, you're too aggressive, you're going to make mistakes. Okay, you're going to make mistakes by sitting there waiting 24 months. You look at people that, waited to buy during the last recession. Oh my God, this doomsday. Like, they should have bought. Like, houses in East Oakland were $100,000.
Wow.
Rents literally covered the whole entire mortgage back then, and you had money. Like, once the recession actually hit, and people didn't buy them. Now those houses are appreciating to $500,000-$600,000. I mean, you couldn't gauge how tech was going to affect Oakland, but you could tell day one that this house covers the mortgage and still pays me money after all expenses are paid. So there was no reason why you shouldn't have shot your shot then. So it's that simple. Oh, wait till the next recession happens. It's never going to be that bad again. I'm going to tell you right now.
Right.
The reason why is because you could go out and get financing literally with no W-2s, no tax returns, no money down. I mean, there's still some gimme schemes like that, but on a mass scale from big banks, those don't exist anymore. They have to be underwritten. They are very anal about where the money comes from, so you can't use, drug money or other things like that. Like, you have to be very precise on how you go about it and do it. So, they require you to put a lot more money down these properties, these multifamily, these investment properties, even though those are safer because the rents pay for the mortgage than your single family homes. They're way safer.
Right.
Single family homes are predominantly loaned on the working class that can lose their job any day and not have enough money to pay their mortgage. So,
right. Definitely.
Just
definitely. And so another thing I want to touch on, a lot of people are afraid of Section 8. There's a lot of, for obvious reasons. Talk to us about what the reality of a Section 8 tenant is, what the benefits are, things that are, talk to us more about that.
I mean, look, in Oakland, some people say, what's the point of get them out? Like, one, let me tell you the bad part about Section 8. Once in Oakland, at least, once they are in your building, they do not have to leave. You cannot rightfully evict them in any shape or form, to my knowledge. And they do create wear and tear on your body, your property. And then what else? They typically just, these are the stereotypes that people have. These are they're not as educated maybe as regular tenants, but they're the best tenants. Section 8 tenants are the best tenants you'll ever have. One, for the most part, the government pays most of your rent, and it's always going to come on time on the first and second of the month, depending on the month, no matter what. So where a regular tenant could mess around, not pay rent, and then you have to do a whole bunch of stuff to get them evicted. Section 8, you call their caseworker if they don't pay their portion of it. But the government is still paying all of their portion of it on time, no matter what. As well as there's multiple different programs that pay a higher security deposit for these tenants. And during the recession, Section 8 tenants are great because most of the time, once they move in, they typically don't leave because there is a demand in Oakland for Section 8 housing because there's so many people that aren't making enough money to afford the high cost of living in the Bay Area. And then the voucher line is just out the door crazy. And there's not enough properties for all these vouchers that have been given. So, your building's going to rent fast. It should maintain itself for the most part if you do a good job. The other bad things about Section 8 are now you have to have a caseworker come through and inspect. They're typically not that bad. I mean, they're very reasonable. Tell you what you need beforehand. I mean, as long as you are a professional, should be good. So I love them. I love all my tenants. I'm strict. Rent don't due on time. Their portion is due on time. And so is the government's. And that's just, life. That's how life should be. So if and Section 8 does not go, I'm not sure the right way to say this, but it's not, Section 8 doesn't abide by the laws of rent control in Oakland. So where if I bought a building that was for $650 and I had $1,000 tenants each, the only way I could get them out is doing buyouts that they would approve, or to raise the rent in essence, or do what's called banked rents and increase the rents, a maximum of 3 years back at like 3 to 9%. So that would take forever to get to $600. Whereas Section 8, you can increase it every single year to, just based on what you're trying to provide as your case. And if you're buying the opportunity zone, and how Section 8 rents are evaluated is the average rent in your zip code or in your 1 mile radius, then as they're developing and taking houses off the market, there's less comps to run, one. And then two, when they do come in, the projects do finally get finished, the rents will be on those buildings way higher. So your average will go up. So you win by default with doing less work. So it's tricky. If you don't speak real estate jargon, you may be like, what are you talking about? But I encourage you to go to Section 8, look at the homeowners meetings, and learn about the program that they have to offer and how they pay. And I think it will be clear that, you still get to evaluate your tenants and pick who you put in there. That it makes sense based on the numbers. The numbers tell you what to do. So Section 8, no Section 8, just let the numbers tell you what to do. So yeah.
Right. And when you raise the rent on Section 8, is it basically the government is paying a higher portion and the tenant's portion stays the same? How does that work?
Great question. In my experience, the government paid the difference completely. Actually, their rent price went down.
Wow.
So, for example, $1,600 is the rent on one of the units. One of the tenants' portion was $140. His rent went down to $140, and the government's portion went up, not only more for what it was for $600, but more than what he previously had paid.
Wow.
So it's a win-win. It is government funded. There's a lot of money that is not being used because there's not enough Section 8 housing in Oakland.
Wow. And do you self-manage it? Do you have a property manager?
I actually self-manage it right now.
Nice.
As I get more busy with being an NFL agent, I will hire a property manager who actually lives across the street.
Oh, cool.
But it really runs itself. I have my gardener. I have my maintenance crew. So it's nothing crazy happens. They don't. They're just regular people. They want to have a nice place to live. As long as you upkeep the building, you shouldn't have any crazy horror stories. Do your checks. Check your water heaters every year. Do your checks and balances. Pay for the small repairs so they can become big repairs.
Definitely. And what's next? Where do you see yourself buying next? Do you plan to stay local in the Bay Area? Do you plan to dabble in some long distance investing? What are you thinking as far as next?
I'm strictly Oakland. I'm not looking at anywhere else but Oakland. Period.
Yeah.
I want to become a master of one territory. You don't see a lot of real estate investors go all over the world. Truthfully, they start somewhere and dominate that area because you have a competitive advantage. I know the streets. I know what blocks used to be crack streets. So why would I want to go anywhere else?
Right.
Why would I want to? Why would I want to go anywhere else? People are like, oh, I'm going to invest in Florida. It's like, if you can't drive by it and see it, then you probably shouldn't invest in it because you don't know what's happening in the neighborhood. It's going to affect your property value or what tenants are being picked. So it sounds good and people have a lot of success doing it. That's not my thing.
Okay. That's good. And I think it's good that you know a big thing people kind of get confused about, they think, oh, this is right, this is wrong. It seems like it's just about what you're comfortable with, what you can manage and what works for you and what, that seems like what it comes down to at the end of the day.
That's what it's all about. But if you live in Wisconsin or somewhere and, you have some money and you want a higher return, yeah, you probably want to look somewhere else, because there's one rule I think or something that you might take or the question you may not ask is there's multiple ways. There's 4 ways to make money in real estate. So you should never lose. In stock, there's only really 2 ways to make money. Appreciation in stock and dividends. And then maybe shorting, if people want to say that. It's not the same thing. But there's only 2 ways to make money in stock. There's 4 ways to make money in real estate. And those 4 ways are this. Cash flow. So the money you receive after paying all expenses. Appreciation in the property. How it goes up, how it appreciates in value based on the sales in the area. And that's what people tend to always look at as appreciation. That is not the only thing you're looking at is appreciation. Because there's years where you'll have, downturns, like a recession. But as long as the cash flow is strong, you're still making money, then you don't have to sell. So you don't have to lose. Whereas a stock, you may have to sell because the dividends are a couple quarters, if that. In real estate, back to real estate, you also have your tax deductions, which is huge. That's why most rich people own real estate. I encourage you to read, this may sound crazy because I'm a Democrat, strong Democrat, but you got to read Trump's books. You got to know what he's thinking. If you don't know what he's thinking, you don't know what he's going to do. So read The Art of the Deal. I forget his other 2 books. I mean, some of them are, some kind of corny. I'm not talking bad about them, but learn what he did. Learn how he did it. He gives you a lot of pieces. He's projecting the future in a lot of his books of what he's going to do, which is what this opportunity zone tax credit is. So understand it. Know what the rich are thinking, how they're thinking. Because if you know how they're thinking, then you can do it in your own shape or fashion and control, and take advantage of the opportunities that he's going to get the ultra rich anyways. And the last thing is to me having a place to live. It's if you're gonna pay rent somewhere else, then why not have a duplex where the other tenant covers the mortgage and basically covers your cost of living. So those are the 4 ways to make money that I see in owning a property. A 5th would be, if you're not talking about renting, would be flips and wholesaling or buying probate. Everybody wants to buy a property at auction. Like, it's very hard. It's very, very hard in California. It's not real because there's people that do it, but it's very hard to buy an auction property that you may not be able to get into and see what work needs to be done to evaluate how much it's going to cost you to pick it. In addition, when you buy an auction, you have to come in all cash. And you can't get a loan for an auction property. It's all cash or nothing at all.
Yep. What is the cash flow, if you don't mind sharing, on the triplex in Oakland?
Yeah. The cash flow day one was, let me pull it up. I have actually no. When I bought it, it was negative 7% because I was at $1,000 in rent per unit, so $3,000. So I was negative $977 for the first 3 months. The cash flow now is $708. So that's the profit after paying everything off. So I took the gross rents from $3,000 to $4,800, and the return on that property is at about 7% monthly, cash on cash return.
That's pretty good. So as far as your next deal, when do you want to do it? Are you trying to kind of hold on to this for a while and see what's next? Like, what do you think?
Everything's for sale. I never get emotionally attached to property. It's just like a stock. Never get emotionally attached to a property, because if I can sell it for a profit, which there are some offers in that, off market offers that people come and offer because it's a well maintained property that you can tell. Oh, already.
You only had it for a couple months, and you already.
My uncle tried to sell it for me in the first 30 days because we knew we got a steal
Wow.
based on what the rents were going to increase too. So everything's for sale. It's just mattering for me. I'm never going to cash out, so I want a 1031 exchange. If I sell it, the profits and something else. So I've written some offers of properties that I've identified that I'm waiting to see if I get them, or if that one of them I'm the backup offer. If they give me this price reduction and let me buy it, then I'll move on it. So I will sell my building to get in the contract and buy a bigger building. It will cash flow bigger and stronger.
Got it. So you'll probably get an offer north of $1 million whenever you decide to sell.
No, not north of $1 million. I'm being real with you.
What do you think, like 800 or so?
I'm only a year in, so for me, I'm looking at 850, 900, which is you still leave some money on the table for the person that's buying to walk into a deal day one and make about $50,000 in equity or make some money, because my return's going to be like almost 70%. If I sell it for 850, so the 900. So there's, you don't want to, we call it, there's deal rapers. You're just trying to make the deal work for only them. Can't do that. Everybody has to win in the deal. Otherwise, it's sleazy. Karma's going to get you. Whether you think that you're raping the deal and there's a terrible foundation problem, or, you're just doing people wrong and trying to keep people out of legal. You just can't do that. So you got to have some morals, some ethics.
Definitely. And what would your advice be to people who live in those primary markets? So, Oakland, San Francisco, LA, New York City, and so on, who want to invest locally, but maybe having some trouble coming up with the funds. What would your advice be to those people?
People don't even realize that you can get a gift from a family member for the down payment funds.
Mm-hmm.
If you really look at buying a single family home, let's say the property is $1 million, right? And it only takes 5% to get in the building. You can do FHA at 3.5, but I would advise always doing 5% at least, or doing a conventional loan if they have those deals sometimes where you can do 3% conventional or 5% conventional and have the PMI. And the reason why is because rates are decent right now, and at 5% conventional versus FHA, the PMI falls off depending on the lender at 20 to 22% without you having to refinance and doing a whole new loan. So that's huge. Getting into the detailed specifics of it, or let's say I buy a property for $400,000. I don't have 20% to put down. So I put down, what is 5% of that? It's $20,000 plus closing costs of like 2%. It's $22,000. I can buy a $400,000 house. This is not in this market, but let's just say somewhere else, or a condo. Okay, so you get into $22,000. Let's say you hit or you start paying that principal down every single month, so that you can get to a loan to value ratio of 22%. It may appreciate in value. You may be able to do it still then, and pay down the mortgage enough to where, okay, this thing is worth $600,000, so now I don't have to pay as much down to get this PMI to fall off. With the FHA loan, you can't do that at all. You have to refinance to get the PMI to fall off. It stays on the duration of the full entire loan.
Right.
So before getting into that, though, and not scaring people to get really to your direct questions, I don't know who your listeners are. I have a simple analogy because some of my friends come hang out and I show them what I'm doing in real estate and what people in our network are doing. And they get really intimidated, or they think I don't know what I'm talking about, which is fine. Nobody cares. I got mine. You don't shoot. That doesn't bother me at all. I don't get paid either way out of this. So if you want to be wealthy with me, we can go travel the world, be rich together at 40 years old. Great. If not, oh well. I'm going to win regardless. But before you come talk to me or even look at any house at all, not even a dream house, go get your pre-approval. Go to your banker. Go to my guy, Brian Peebles at Caliber Home Loans. Shout out to Brian. I've been with Brian since he was at Wells Fargo. He taught me a lot of stuff early on in college that really helped me and helped my mom, get her house rebonified, and a lot of other things. Brian is just the guy. He's the guy to go to. Can't talk about Brian enough. Thanks, shout out to Brian. But my point is that it's like, okay, maybe you see that you want to be in real estate. You want to do real estate. You want to buy a place. And I treat it as an example of a gun. I'm not, an avid gun guy, but it's just simple to say. Because as a kid, we all played around, cops and robbers and stuff, shot fake guns. You have to, in order to shoot somebody, have bullets. Okay, you may have the vision to go and want to, buy a piece of property, but without the bullets, you can't even shoot. You can't shoot anything. And then without the pre-approval, you can't even see what you can shoot. So you may be looking at $1 million houses, thinking, "Oh, I can afford the mortgage payment of $6,000 a month." But if you got a G-Wagon, Mercedes Benz, and student loan and debt that messes with your debt to income ratio, you may only get approved for $300,000 based on the money you have to put down and your actual income. Or you may have a lot of money to put down, but because you live a very fancy, lavish life with these liabilities that aren't paid for, you won't be able to get pre-approved to buy $1 million house, even though you can afford the payment. Wow. So go get your pre-approval, because it will humble you, and it will also give you the confidence to see where you're at and what you can look at. And if you don't like it, then you can go back and re-strategize and say, "Look, I'm going to pay this car off this year. I'm going to pay the student loan this year. I'm going to reduce this payment, or maybe trade it in to get a lower payment card, buy a car cash, so that I can, get into real estate. Be aggressive about that. Do not wait for your credit score to be right to go and get approved for a loan. You can do a credit supplement. The rate is not the biggest deal. If you have a good job and you have, a decent credit score, you're going to get a good rate as long as you're putting solid money down, decent money down, and not trying to go for, one of these loans. It's no money down, whatever it is. Go there and figure it out with the banker, but you have to get your pre-approval. Have to. You can do what's called a credit supplement if, you had an outstanding payment due to, let's say, Children's Hospital that you didn't know your mama didn't pay when you were 18 years old, whatever it is. And you can pay that off and do a credit supplement, which your lender will gladly do for you and pay for, to up your credit score so that you can get a better rate.
Definitely. We didn't get to talk too much about your place in Portland. Talk to us. What I like about it is you have a home that your mother is able to live in and to retire in. And I really think that shows the power of ownership. So talk to us more about what the process was of purchasing that house, the price and everything, and also the process of helping your mom sell her place and be able to move there and retire there.
Yeah. So at that time, I had I'll give you the real of it, because I just talk real. I don't try to tell stories or be fake. And even though, like I said, I had people that made a lot of money in my life, my immediate family's circumstances were a lot different. Not that they were anything bad. My mom had a phenomenal job with Johnson & Johnson 20 years. She was one of the lead pharmaceutical sales reps at Johnson & Johnson for years, and other major companies like biotech and things like that. However, she wasn't as financially sound. So when my parents got divorced, I was telling you earlier, she didn't understand the implications of paying a mortgage, doing refinances, and she got taken advantage of, which is okay. You live and you learn. And there's many women out there that do know how to do it. And my mom is just a very strong woman. She didn't like to ask for help. Anyway, so I moved my mom to Portland, Oregon with me before I bought my house, because I was going to live with her and she was going to live with me until I get all her finances straight, because it was messed up. I had to get her out of that house, tried to get it sold, couldn't get it sold. Then I ended up putting tenants in that house to pay the mortgage and pay the property manager. It ended up producing a little bit of a profit every month. So we moved into a one-bedroom apartment I was living at the time in Portland. I had the plan, said, "Mom, I'm going to move up here. I'm going to buy a house in the next 3 months. That's what we're going to do, so that we can, save our money and put it together." A lot of people thought, "Oh, your mom's buying the house," and that wasn't the case, And she wasn't broke by any means. She still had a job. She made 6 figures, and it was just we were spending a lot of money on expenses that were not needed, that we needed to cut in order to reach our goals of my goal of being wealthy and being able to give my mom a place where she could stay and live for free and not have to worry about that stuff and use her pension to just do her life. So moved into a one-bedroom apartment. I slept on the couch. Mom got the room, did that whole thing, ended up getting a house and townhouse in the area that she wanted to live in, not what I wanted to live in necessarily. Because what I saw was a condo that I knew was an appreciating value. It was like $150,000. It was a dope bachelor pad, 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath. My mom was like, "No, I'm not doing it." That place ended up appreciating value in like a year and a half to 150 to, or it was 189, excuse me, to $300,000 in 2 years. So it was like, should have bought it still, but it's okay. I didn't do it. It was a great place. They ended up developing the community in the area significantly. I knew that was coming based on the intel that I had working at Nike. Bought a place in the neighborhood that you want to live in. It was, I learned to buy the smallest house on the block. Because when you buy the smallest house on the block, most people don't want it because it's the smallest house. One. Two, when you're buying into a community of a townhouse community, you have the least HOAs dues because you're paying for this based on the square footage of your house. Even though you guys may be using the same amount of water, the same amount of gardening space, et cetera, et cetera. Three, you want to buy the smallest house in the block just from an insurance standpoint. You insure a little bit less. Not a lot of money, but a couple dollars. Every dollar counts. Every nickel counts. You won't never see me pass a penny on the street without picking it up. Ever. Even if it's pick it up and give it to a homeless person. I respect money, and money respects me back. So, I don't like people. I can't stand people who just throw money away. Like, oh, it's a couple quarters. Give it up. Like, no, if you're going to give it away, make sure you give it away with intention that you just gave away 10 cents. It could be $1 in 2 years. Know that. So that's how I treat money. But back to your question was, how much was the house that I bought? The townhouse was listed at $425. Like I said, I have a rule. I don't look at a property unless it's on the market for 2 weeks. I knew that property was sat in the market for 4 months, and it was wintertime, and people were not closing. So I came in and I offered them their price with the intentions, because I saw there were things wrong with it once I went through the inspection, to beat their price up. So get them in the contract, show them all the things that are wrong, and get a credit on my closing costs. Because I only had $25,000 to buy this house. I knew I could afford the mortgage payment, even with the PMI, but I knew that I needed money to help close, and I didn't want to get it from my lender because they tack on more points and basically charge me money down the road. So got in the contract, beat the price up, had the seller basically credit me back money off of my down payment / closing costs to reduce the amount of money I had to spend day one to get into the property. So that's how the deal was structured. Closed for $425, got a credit back of like $9,000 to $10,000. Don't remember the exact number. And that helped me significantly closing that property and saved me some, I think saving like $5,000 out of my actual pocket to go and use to buy a washer and dryer and make the small corrections in the property, the caulking, the retiling of a couple pieces of tile myself, instead of paying a vendor. So that's how I got it. And I also ended up paying for all of my furniture in the house. So yeah, that's it.
Definitely, man. Definitely. So a couple big things you touched on there. One was sacrifice. Not a lot of adult males voluntarily move their mother in with them so they could work on a financial plan to buy a house.
Oh man, I got made fun of left and right. And I gave her the bigger room, the master suite that overlooked the lake and all that stuff.
Right.
People were like, oh, this is your mom's house. Why would you people were making fun of me? But my real friends that come raised like me, in the essence, know that, she gave me everything I have. So why would I not do the same for her? To me, it doesn't make a difference. I don't need the bigger room. I don't have that much stuff like she had. She had so much stuff. She went from a 5-bedroom house to a two bedroom, 2.5 bath. It was nothing to me. I didn't care. I already had a 1-bedroom apartment, 600 square feet. So to me, it was still an upgrade. I wasn't tripping. And I had moms there, so it was cool. We both split the mortgage, and we had tension, but me and my mom were pretty cool. So it wasn't a big deal to me.
That's amazing, man. I really like how you showed that humility, and y'all worked on the plan, put the money together, and got the house.
Yep.
Now you got 2 homes under your belt. About how much combined? Worth about $1 million.
$1 million, yeah. But I still got liability. I got loans on both of them, so
Right.
Probably maybe $500,000.
That's big, man. That's big. And so last couple questions. We're gonna get off topic a bit. So why do Black people care more about chicken sandwiches and memes and all this stuff instead of building wealth? And disclaimer, I haven't tried the sandwich yet. Every time I go, I mean, I just want to see what the hype is about. It's always packed.
It's sold out.
Sold out, man. It's sold out right up the street from me. So talk to me about, in your opinion, why we give this so much attention. We care so much about this more so than our finances, building wealth, and things of that nature.
Man, that's a really hard question to answer. And I think it really boils down to, one, we control the culture. There is a cultural currency that Black people own. We drive what's cool and what's not. I don't care what nobody says. We make things hot, period. You look at, how people invest in stocks is based on what we do. Nike is owned by white people, right? It's by Phil Knight, great company. Had a lot of fun working there. Most of the designers are white. And they go into communities and design based off what we say is cool. So I assume / know that, it's almost like it on every single scale or level in other fields, whether that's cars, other fashion brands, music. We have a cultural currency that is man, it's expensive. But the reason why, to answer your question, I don't think that we get it is because we haven't been taught financial literacy in schools. It's a secret. There is no book that will teach you how to go buy a multifamily property and show you how to do it without scaring you. People scare you away from it. My own friends, I've lost a lot of friends because they didn't understand what I was trying to do or what I'm doing now. They saw the old Henry as a kid, but not understanding, even though I got C's and D's in school, hey, I am extremely financially literate, and I have a competitive advantage based on my upbringing and who's in my network and who's around me. I learned quick. I was dyslexic as a kid, and I have no problem admitting it because I learned most of the people that are great managers and people persons and CEOs of these major Fortune 500 companies are dyslexic. It was like a rate of like 75%. I think we learned that in the USC case study we did when we were going to learn about going to the school. Some of the research material they gave us before we talked to them, try to get into USC. Shout out to USC who didn't let me in.
Let me in either. You're doing all right.
I'm doing great, and it's my goal to beat every single person that got in there on a mass level, so they can look at this and say, "Man, we should have let that kid in with the subpar GMAT school." I'm not going to say my GMAT school. Had a phenomenal track record on his resume and was a Black man that told you he was going to win, and you saw it, you understood it, and you still turned me down. And so I'm talking trash without cussing because I'm not supposed to cuss on here, but I want to cuss. But I'm gonna show you how great I am. So that's all I got for you as far as that. But to your cultural currency question or your question about why we don't do it, man, we just haven't been taught it, man. We haven't been around it. We're followers sometimes in a sense, but there's also some people that are very strong and that are doing it. And I think that there's a lot more Black people that actually are investing in real estate that they grew up in those old times. There was the red line district. People wouldn't sell to you who were Black. So they had to hide who they were. And, I can say that my uncles at times are a victim to that. They, people started to hear the name and know that they could close, but they never knew they were Black. They would send white realtors and white people to act like they were the buyers to go and, check out the property with them. They would act like they were the laborers to get the building at the price that they wanted because people didn't want to sell to young Black men. They didn't think they could close because they were young and Black. People to this day still don't know my uncles own the buildings that we do. We go to the building maybe to check on the workers or service something ourselves, just to do it, to make sure we know how to still do it. Keep in touch. So let's say something easy, change a light bulb. I'm not about to pay a handyman $150 to change a light bulb on a Saturday. I'll just do it myself. So we go do it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, can you tell the owner this?" And it's like, we own the building, they own the building, and we'll just play dumb and just, "Oh yeah, no problem." I told you my name was Eric, and you write a check to me every single month. You don't even realize that you're paying me. So, You know, but it's all good because it doesn't matter. All that matters is money. But like to your point is that there's a lot of people out there doing it that just aren't showing it.
Right.
And I hope it doesn't come back and hurt me. But if it does, oh well. Come on.
Definitely.
I'm not gonna hide it. I'm just not.
Definitely. And do you have any other entrepreneurial ventures going on? I know you're finishing up school soon and getting this Asian thing going. Do you have anything else going on entrepreneurially right now?
Nope, I have nothing else going on besides that. Everything else is entrepreneur will be under the umbrella of being a sports agent, is making sure that I can make these players capitalize on the time that they're off the field while they're still playing. There's a lot of equity deals that are out there that are being left on the table for these players in the tech space, in the food space, that people just, agents are not capitalizing on because they're dinosaurs.
Right.
They just are.
Definitely.
They have the list of clients and they're playing good and they do good deals on the field. But there's a lot more to it than that. That with the right strategic partnership can be done.
Right. Definitely, man. It's crazy. We met like 2 years ago at the USC NBA Diversity Weekend, man. And I remember vividly, we hanging in the hotel room and you were just talking about, in short, whatever happens with this whole thing, I'm still gonna be successful. I'm still gonna do my thing. And look at you now. You got another crib under your belt, and there's different ways to skin the cat. I tell people this all the time, and you're doing it, man.
I appreciate it, man. And you are as well in your own shape and form. I had a lot of people tell me, that you're cocky or you're whatever, and I realized that they don't tell that same thing to the white boy, and that's why I got on this podcast because. That's just how I was raised, that you can be the best, and a lot of Black kids aren't told that you can be the best. There's greatness within you. You just got to find it. And so self-confidence is something that everybody should have, and especially like me, a kid that couldn't read until I was in the third grade. Man, I'm starting to realize those kids, they were so smart and getting A's, they ain't even doing nothing after school. They going back to school to do more school, to do nothing, to make $50,000 a year, to go teach. Not shout out to teachers, but I'm just not about to listen to somebody that hasn't been where I'm trying to go. Period. Period. On any level. If you're not doing what I'm doing or been where I'm trying to go, what validates your opinion of what I'm doing for me to listen to you? People will say, you're cocky, this, like I'm saying this because no, I'm confident and I do what I say I'm going to do. I'm not out here saying I'm doing all this stuff that I'm not doing. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, period.
Right.
So I know I'm a winner. I just know it. It's a divine feeling. It's in my DNA. If I've seen generations of people exceed boundaries that they weren't supposed to do, I saw my grandpa, dad, their whole family become doctors in the Jim Crow South. And my grandpa grew up in Texas. Come on, you can't tell me what I can't do. Come on, man. That man grew up in segregated colleges. My dad was born in an all-black hospital. He couldn't even go to the white hospital, even though his mom is fair-skinned and Native American. Oh no, get that black baby out of here. Send him across the street. These are real things. You can't tell me I can't win. I come from winners. Period.
That's it, man.
And even if you don't come from winners, you can still win. There's a gang of people that are overnight successes or self-made millionaires. Hey, look, I'm not going to be a self-made millionaire. Hey, I was given an advantage, but it's up to me to take my story and my advantages and take it that much farther. If anything, the bar is that much higher. I'm not doing enough, and that's okay. But my shadow runs fast, and I'm not that fast. But hey, man, I'm gonna get faster every year. Period. So go out there and win, y'all.
That's it. And are there any books or resources that you recommend people looking into just about real estate or investing or mindset, anything like that?
Man, I got 6 rules. I'm writing my master's project right now, and I think that there's a lot of great books out there. Jasarte Yarnway, he's a financial advisor and a dear friend of mine. He has 3 great books. out there. One I like the best right now is called Payment Equity. And
Mhm.
it's just, oh man, it just, there's the equity portion for people that are working in tech and going into these VC funds and, taking lower salaries to get more equity in the company they work in. And there's also the mental aspect of, believing in yourself. It's more spiritual, and it gives examples of different deals that Black people have done. In the book, he talks about how Beyonce did Coachella for free, but in the way that she structured the deals to do, being paid $8 million, whatever it was, to being able to own the rights to that, to the recording of her Coachella performance. She turned around and sold it to Netflix for $47 million.
Wow.
So the point of it is that's a good book. The principles I have is have a vision, have a game plan, but before you have a game plan, never listen to anybody that hasn't been where you're trying to go. Period. These are my grandpa's words, my poor grandpa. Create a plan, work like hell to accomplish that goal faster than you anticipated it. And lastly, the two other things he says is say you're going to do something, do it.
Right.
If you're going to say you're going to be somewhere, be on time, be early, go do it. If you fail, that's okay, but just don't be about the bullshit. Don't talk. Don't be a talker, be a doer. So those are kind of the 6 kind of things I live by, and are intimidating at times being a Black male. But I want everybody to win. If I don't know you, I want you to win. Am I going to tell you, what you don't want to hear to get better? Yes. I don't believe in, I wasn't coached as or taught as, just, oh, you're the best. I mean, I was cheered and told you can do it. But, when you're wrong, you do something wrong, I take the criticism that much better because it shows me that you care and that you want me to be better, and that's how I talk to people. I say things very bluntly that may sound extremely rude, but we'll all be in the same conversation, the same meeting, and nobody will say it because they don't want to offend you or they want to let you fail on your own, which I think is wrong. It's like, you don't have to fail, bro. You're doing this wrong. Do this. So find a good mentor that's going to tell you how to get better, is going to tell you when you're messing up. That's
Definitely.
it.
Where can people find you? Is Instagram the best way?
Instagram's the best way.
Cool. Sounds good. Well, thank you for coming on, man. I'll let you know when this episode comes out, and we'll have a summary and your contact information, your Instagram in the show notes. But appreciate you coming on, man. Shared a lot of good gems, and I'm sure people will get a lot of value from this.
I hope they do, man. I know I talk a lot. I
It's all
apologize.
good.
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. But I hope somebody, push a hard line